Mary Liz Kehler, the director of the Washington office of a foundation that is doing some incredibly interesting things in Paraguay and other places around the world. Tell us just a little bit about the foundation, what it does, what you do.
Well, the Fundacion Paraguaya is a financially self-sustaining social enterprise based in Paraguay, which develops entrepreneurial solutions to poverty and unemployment in Paraguay, but to disseminate to other countries around the world.
That's amazing that any social enterprise could be, you know, in the black. So tell us how you guys are able to do it while so many others are not.
Well, one of our key programs is a microfinance program, which generates a small surplus. And unlike many other microfinance programs, though, we are not a bank. We're a social enterprise. So we take our surplus and we reinvest it in other programs, other complementary programs that are designed to promote entrepreneurship as a solution to poverty and unemployment. So, for example, with our surplus from the microfinance program, we've developed a new model of education for poor rural youth with a view to turning them into rural entrepreneurs.
Rural entrepreneurs, well, poor rural youth and rural entrepreneurs, what types of businesses are they undertaking? Are they undertaking businesses that you suggest, or do they do them themselves?
Well, the school is very unusual in the sense that it has a number of commercially successful small enterprises on its campus. And so students spend half of their high school years in the classroom and half performing practical activities in these enterprises. So the enterprises serve both as a platform for students to learn practical and entrepreneurial skills, and they also generate income. And with this income, the school covers all of its operating costs, and therefore it doesn't have to depend on government subsidies or long-term support from donors or charge high school fees that would exclude the very students we're trying to serve. So in the process of this education, students learn that making a decent living in the countryside is more than just the traditional agricultural activities that one might think of. Yes, they involve growing crops and raising animals, but we try to show them that it's possible to find, to add value to that farm production, and also to find niche markets and new opportunities in existing markets so that they can make a much better living in the countryside than, say, their parents have. Also, the rural sector is more than just producing crops and animals. There are also rural services. There is rural tourism. There are roadside stores that use products produced on the farm. So there are a whole host of opportunities that young people can turn to once they graduate.
Is there a relationship between the Foundation's microfinance program and the schools themselves?
Yes, in two respects. First of all, we applied the lessons we learned in running a very well-regarded microfinance program to starting this agricultural school. But secondly, in order to graduate from this school, students have to develop their own business plan, and it has to be generally for an activity that they would carry out on their family farms. And it has to be of sufficient quality that it would qualify for a line of credit from our microfinance program. And this is an arm's length transaction because our microfinance program is otherwise separate from the school. And because we are a financially self-sufficient organization ourselves, we don't make microfinance loans unless we think that the borrower has a good possibility of repayment. So these are good quality business plans that the students come up with, and they get financing, or they can draw on financing when they graduate. Not all of them choose to draw on it, but the financing is available if they need it in order to put their business plans into effect.
Now, we've talked about schools, so you have more than one school?
We have, the first school we developed is a co-ed school We took over the administration of this school in 2003 and set out the objective of making it financially self-sufficient in 5 years, which we did by the end of 2007. And then on the basis of that experience, we've been working with the Nike Foundation to develop another school following the same model, but only for girls, to see whether a school of this kind can be a powerful tool in economically empowering low-income rural girls. And at the same time, this particular school is located in a UNESCO-recognized biosphere forest reserve. And its purpose is also to teach the community around this reserve how to make sustainable living while protecting this valuable natural resource. And so we hope with this new school we'll be serving a double purpose. One, economically empowering low-income rural girls, and two, empowering a whole community to protect this important forest.
Wow, it sounds like not only are you affecting change individually, but you're affecting cultural change, and sometimes cultural changes are not particularly well received. Have you found that?
Yes, we have, but although there's sometimes a little resistance at the beginning, I think the example of what's being achieved overcomes the community's doubts rather quickly.
Typically it's the men who reject the cultural change because it's women who are becoming empowered. Is that what you have found?
Maybe there is some skepticism, but as soon as it becomes clear that there's an economic benefit here, it's not just a benefit to the girl, it's a benefit to the whole family and her future family, the men are pretty supportive. I can give you an example of a wonderful young woman named Miranda, who was leading a tour through the forest of visitors. And she explained how reluctant her father had been to let her go away from home in order to start this program, because it is a boarding program. And in the end, he agreed to it because the girl was so persistent. And he's now one of the greatest supporters of the school. Another example of the cultural problems that you alluded to is that this particular reserve is in an area where there are 2 indigenous tribes. The people in these communities have been really left behind in the process of modernization. They live in extreme poverty and with very few services. And the idea was to invite girls from both of these indigenous communities to become part of the student body. And indeed, girls from both communities enrolled. But when one tribe found out that the other tribe's daughters were going to go to this school, they withdrew their girls because these 2 tribes have been antagonistic for centuries. And however, the second year in which the school was in operation, the second tribe sent its girls because they realized what a wonderful opportunity this was.
So the rising tide floats all boats.
Yes, and I think that one lesson that becomes very apparent is that that people have much more in common than they do differences.
You know, you have described a financially self-sustaining nonprofit organization and that operates a financially self-sustaining school. Are people coming to you and saying, how do you do this?
Well, yes, indeed they are. We have partners in a number of different countries. First of all, we established a network. We established a sister organization called Teach a Man to Fish, which is based in London. And its mission has been to develop a community of organizations and individuals interested in this concept of the financially self-sufficient school. And it now has 2,000 members worldwide in 120 countries. Now, not all of those organizations and individuals are in a position to have a financially self-sufficient school, but we have about 30 partners around the world who are in some stage of adopting this model, and that we have about 5 who are actually doing it. One of our alumni is Jorge Guerrero. He is the 10th child of 19 brothers and sisters of a subsistence farming family in Paraguay. They live about 200 miles from the capital city, the first hour of which is dirt roads to get to the main highway. You can imagine that a child growing up in these kinds of circumstances doesn't have many opportunities. But Jorge was fortunate enough to finish the 9th grade, and he came to our school and graduated first in his class. And however, his dream was to go to university and get a degree in agronomy. But he couldn't live at home because it was too far away. And he didn't have family resources to help him pay for his room and board or his books or his transportation. But Jorge was able to work out a deal with an old age home that had a little plot of land that it wasn't using. And he made the proposition to them that he would develop an organic garden on their empty plot of land and supply the old age home with fresh vegetables, which they'd never had. And he would sell the surplus from this garden to cover his incidental expenses at the university, and they would give him room and board. And so on the basis of this agreement, Jorge is now in his 5th year of the agronomy track at the National University and is about to graduate. And his plan is to expand this organic vegetable business into a much larger enterprise and to operate it in the district around in the district where his community is located. So that's an example of the really transformational education that takes place when you give these kids these entrepreneurial opportunities during high school.
You work in the Washington, D.C. office, run the Washington,
Yes.
D.C. office, but you used to live there.
Yes, I did.
So a big part of the Clinton Global Initiative is that there truly is hope out there. Have you seen firsthand that there is indeed hope?
Oh, absolutely. I see hope when I visit our microfinance clients. I see hope when I talk to the students at our school, both the co-ed school where Jorge graduated and the new girls' school that I spoke of in the forest. These kids are committed and they have incredible drive. And if anything gives me optimism, it's seeing what these kids want to achieve in their lives, and I'm sure they'll do it.